trust, truth, integration. You've been taught to distrust yourself, to be in fear, when in fact, there is much that you know. There is much beyond the physical embodiment that you're currently identified with that you call Sam or Nancy or Craig, that the collective knows, and since you're the same as the collective, you have the capacity to know in any moment what the collective knows up to this point. When we release resistance, which looks like realizing that it's all you, and me, and you, and we integrate this and live this truth, it becomes this dance between an individuated self and other. In this dance, fear begins to dissolve, and your whole being relaxes. We are far more capable than we know, and we have the capacity to awaken to a level of consciousness that many are unaware of at this time. The integration of you as a physical being and a non-physical being is crisp and contains the true seed of our power, a power that takes all things in existence as part of itself, a power that knows its capacities and capabilities. It is the physical action in alignment with deep understanding, wisdom, and truth. Truth and perspective so wide, it encompasses any and all perspectives that are. We are not there yet collectively, as is evident by everything that is happening on this planet. Coming to this integrated awareness means that we will see every movement we make, every thought that we think, every belief that we hold as affecting time, space, and the fabric of reality. A lot of people are sleeping. There's a lot of unconscious shadow. Many of us don't recognize the power that we have to creating. We've been disempowered. Our lack of awareness has removed us from the realization that our external reality in this time-space called Earth is actually a place we've come to understand and actualize free will. This place, Earth, may seem solid and stable to many. It's not. Nothing is inherently stable. It is subject to change at all moments as perception widens. The way our human consciousness appears is like a spectrum, and the beings embodied with seemingly less awareness are also you in a very literal sense. Do not believe the lie that you cannot do what you want, that you are not good enough, that you are limited by this thing or that thing. You are not. Surely we have physical limitations. Some of us are in wheelchairs and can't physically run. And if we were to just simply say that there are really no limitations, then we would be in denial of this physical dimension. And this again is not an integrated space to teach from. Nonetheless, the teaching that you are limitless in ways you can and cannot imagine is necessary at a time when there are so many disempowered people, so many of us removed from our capacities to carry out integrated wisdom as a spiritual being. Have you been resisting knowing you actually do know many things? Was it or is it dangerous for you to see reality? Are there people in your life that have not benefited from you seeing reality because it meant that they would have to see reality as well and were unwilling to make changes that seeing reality would no doubt cause? So it makes sense why we get caught in purely physical and purely non-physical oriented thoughts and being constructs. I prefer to use the terms physical and non-physical because both are spiritual. Both are half of the puzzle. And we need both to create integrated wisdom. If you identify more heavily with the physical, you are rewarded here by the general and collective society. You're agreeing to a general consensus reality. And given we're a group species who depends fully on the group for our survival, it makes sense why you would agree to this very physical way of seeing things. You chose into a physical embodiment because this subjective perspective is informing the collective, but it's dangerous to be locked into the idea that this is only a purely physical reality. It means that we buy into separation as a full truth, and we are not in reality. The negative consequences of this are apparent in fights, wars, suicide, the exploitation of resources, people, plants, animals, and any action resulting in harm. If you are listening to this, you may feel you don't fall too much on this end of the spectrum, and yet regardless, it's still you. The dangers apparent in those trying to move purely towards non-physical understanding of our nature beyond the third dimension is not only the fear of appearing and being insane, psychotic, and delusional, but because we can say things like death doesn't exist and you create your own reality without really having the other half of that information. We have programmed ourselves out of our own divinity We fear we will lose our minds if we enter into or embody the truth that we feel at our core, that we are more than just this vessel. We fear we're making things up, that it's all in our heads. And of course we would think that. The majority of human consciousness would think that, and it will feel that way. But it exists. The thought of our divinity and our infinity exists, so that means it exists. If we are only identified with this aspect of ourselves, we risk being very dangerous to each other on this planet. Again, we are not in the fullest form of reality because we are only accepting one half of the coin. And we will use these truths to bypass a whole other portion of our consciousness. That is to say, to not see the reality of the ways our aspects of consciousness are quite literally trapped in unconsciousness. If we're unwilling to see our own trapped, then we cannot and will not be of the integrated assistance necessary to free these parts. On either side of the spectrum, we believe we are good. We are attached to our goodness so much that we don't see we have fallen into another trap. We become, in that moment, the danger that we seek to end. The parts of us trapped in unconsciousness, because we don't know what we don't know, get hate for being unaware. The parts of us that are conscious get hate for seeing what the other parts have yet to see, and for using this awareness to shame unconsciousness. There is societal danger in remaining unaware. There is a genuine and understandable fear of being pushed away and losing people and a whole consensus reality you're a part of, which is essentially disconnection, in becoming aware or remaining unaware. But the thing is, that doesn't actually happen when we become aware, because we become aware of how connected we actually are. In the great words of Teal Swan, the awakening of humanity is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. Trust that you know more than you think you do, and also trust there is much you have yet to know. But what you don't know doesn't cancel out what you are, which is wisdom, constantly evolving. There is safety in integration. There is safety in knowing both are true, because this is reality. And choices made from seeing reality are the third option. These are the choices that stand to benefit all.